Welcome to long-form content of Tech Bytes and News. This is a compilation on latest news and articles featured on Hacker News. You can find the original links of articles in the description. Please like and subscribe to support future content. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into Rudy Fail's experience, building a seemingly simple web application. It's a great case study in how easily things can escalate in software development.
Absolutely. The title promised easy, but the journey sounds anything but. He started with a Python utility, right? What was the initial goal?
Yeah, he had this Python script that sent multiple CURL requests to a WordPress site's XMLRPC endpoint. The goal was to make it more user-friendly for his coworkers by turning it into a web app. A simple task, one might think.
Right. So he initially considered PHP, but decided against it. Why?
He thought it was too much work for such a small app, even though a PHP solution would have been quick. Instead, he opted for a Python web framework, first considering Django, then Flask, and finally settling on Bottle, a micro-framework. Smart move, considering the project's scope.
I see. So Bottle worked, but he wasn't happy with the user experience. What was the issue?
The initial Bottle app made all the requests synchronously, meaning users had to wait for the entire process to complete before seeing results. He wanted a more responsive experience, so he decided to use JavaScript and the Fetch API. A bold move, but it led to some unexpected challenges.
Ah, yes, the CORS issue. That's a common headache. Can you explain what happened?
Exactly. Because the JavaScript requests originated from a different domain than the target WordPress site, the browser blocked them due to core security restrictions. He initially tried to work around this by creating a Node.js server with a REST API as an intermediary, but that quickly became a massive undertaking. Too much complexity for such a small project.
So he essentially went from a simple Python script to a full-blown client-server architecture, only to abandon it?
Yep. He realized the Node.js solution, with its dependencies and maintenance overhead, was far more trouble than it was worth. After 72 hours of wrestling with JavaScript, async functions, promises, and CORS, he went back to the simple Bottle app. A humbling experience, I'm sure.
It certainly sounds like it. So the moral of the story is sometimes simpler is better?
Precisely. He learned a valuable lesson about keeping things simple and avoiding unnecessary complexity. While the initial Bottle app required users to wait for the request to complete, it was far more maintainable and less prone to issues than the more complex Node.js solution. A valuable lesson for all developers.
Absolutely. It highlights the importance of carefully considering the trade-offs between features, maintainability, and development time. Thanks for breaking down this insightful article.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Join us tomorrow for another exciting deep dive into the world of technology. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into Kannada, a cross-platform keyboard remapper. It's a really exciting project, offering advanced customization for improved keyboard comfort and usability. Think QMK, but for any keyboard.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So it's not just for those fancy mechanical keyboards? What's the core functionality?
Exactly. Kannada lets you create multiple layers of key functionality. Imagine Shift, but on steroids. You can map keys to different actions depending on the layer, using tap hold, macros, even Unicode characters. It's incredibly flexible.
Multiple layers. So you could have one layer for normal typing, another for gaming shortcuts, and maybe a third for programming symbols?
Precisely. And you define all this in a human-readable configuration file. There are samples provided, from a minimal setup to a full-featured example showcasing all the bells and whistles. It even has live reloading, so you can test your changes instantly.
That's brilliant for iterative development. But how does it work across different operating systems? I'm on Mac OS. Will it work for me?
Absolutely. It supports Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. For Mac OS versions 11 and newer, you'll need the Carabiner Virtual Hidden Device Driver. Older versions require the Carabiner kernel extension. The instructions are clearly laid out in the GitHub repo. It's all very well documented.
Great! And what about installation? Is it a simple process?
Mostly yes. You can grab pre-built binaries from the releases page, or build it yourself using Rust. The build process is straightforward if you have Rust installed. There are detailed instructions for each OS, including handling potential sudo requirements on Linux. It uses the cargo build system, so it's pretty standard fare for Rust projects.
I see. So what about the name? Kanata? It sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool name. It's an Iroquoian word meaning village or settlement, and it's actually the origin of Canada's name. The author chose it because it starts with a K, relating to keyboards, and it has a nice ring to it. Plus, there's a mysterious PPT mentioned, which adds a touch of intrigue.
Intriguing indeed. What are some of the more advanced features? Beyond the multi-layer stuff.
Oh, there's a lot. There's support for Vim-like leader sequences, a TCP server for interacting with other programs, and even an interception driver for Windows. Though there's a known issue with the underlying driver itself. It's packed with features. And the author even mentions the possibility of adding audio support in the future.
That's impressive. Are there any similar projects out there?
Yes, definitely. The most similar is Keymonad, written in Haskell. Kanata's author actually created this project because they found Keymonad's Haskell codebase difficult to contribute to. The GitHub page has a great comparison document highlighting the differences. There's also a whole list of other keyboard remappers for different operating systems, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. It's a really helpful resource for anyone looking for keyboard customization options.
That's really thoughtful of the author to include that comparison. So overall, what's your take on Kanata?
I think it's a fantastic project. The combination of powerful features, cross-platform support, and a well-maintained codebase makes it a compelling option for anyone looking to enhance their keyboard experience. The documentation is excellent, and the community seems active and supportive. I highly recommend checking it out.
I agree. It seems like a game changer for keyboard customization. Thanks for the overview.
You're welcome. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into the crucial intersection of observability and FinOps, specifically focusing on Grafana Cloud's new Vantage integration. It's a game changer, folks.
Absolutely. I've been hearing whispers about this. What's the core argument here? Why do observability and FinOps need each other so badly?
Well, it's all about scaling, right? As our infrastructure explodes in size and complexity, so do our observability needs. But that increased monitoring comes with a hefty price tag. FinOps provides the financial lens to manage that cost explosion.
I see. So it's like, observability gives you the performance insights, but FinOps helps you understand the cost of those insights? A kind of meta-observability for your cloud spending?
Precisely. The article highlights the parallels between the two. Both require cross-functional team collaboration, rely on real-time data for effective decision-making, and demand continuous improvement and optimization. It's a beautiful synergy.
Beautiful synergy indeed. But isn't it a bit ironic? We're using observability tools to monitor the cost of our observability tools. Isn't that a bit meta?
Haha, you're right. It is a bit meta. But that's the power of it. It's not just about knowing if something is expensive. It's about understanding why. The article uses the example of a startup over-collecting metrics on EC2 instances. They were paying for data they didn't need.
That's a classic mistake. So how does this Grafana Cloud/Vantage integration help solve this problem?
Vantage leverages Grafana Cloud's billing data via its API. This allows you to see your Grafana Cloud costs alongside your other cloud provider expenses, AWS, Azure, GCP, etc., all in one place. It's a centralized view of your observability spending.
That's huge. No more juggling multiple dashboards and spreadsheets to figure out where your money is going. It also mentions anomaly detection and budget management features within Vantage. That's powerful stuff.
Exactly. Vantage goes beyond just visualization. It helps you identify cost anomalies, set budgets, and even allocate costs across different teams or projects. It's a complete FinOps solution tailored for Grafana Cloud users.
But what about users who aren't fully on Grafana Cloud? Does the integration still work for them?
Yes. The beauty of Vantage is its broad integrations. Even if you use other observability tools, Vantage can still aggregate your spending data, giving you a holistic view of your cloud costs. It integrates with many of the same data sources as Grafana.
This sounds incredibly useful. It seems like a must-have for any organization serious about managing its cloud costs, especially those heavily invested in observability. The article makes a strong case for this integration.
It really does. And the best part? You can get started with a free Vantage account and connect it to your Grafana cloud today. So listeners, go check it out. Thanks for tuning in to Tech Bytes and News. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into Ricotta, a smart language learning app. It's amazing. The core is its adaptive learning system. It's not just flashcards. It's predictive and personalized.
Right, I saw that. So the adaptive review schedule is key, right? It only tests you on what you're about to forget. That's incredibly efficient. Brilliant.
Exactly. It uses an algorithm to predict the optimal time to review each word or phrase. No more wasted time on things you already know. It's all about maximizing your study time. And the memory analytics are equally impressive. You get a detailed breakdown of your learning patterns, retention rates. It's like having a personal learning dashboard.
And the intelligent vocabulary feature, that's smart, focusing on high-impact words and phrases used in real-life conversations. No more memorizing obscure words you'll never use.
Precisely. It's all about relevance. The whole process is designed for efficiency. The How It Works section is straightforward. Effortless import, instant translation and enrichment with audio, and then that optimized review. It's a streamlined process.
I'm curious though, how robust is the import function? Can you really just add anything from anywhere with a single click? What about different file formats?
That's a good point. The marketing material focuses on the ease of use, but it doesn't specify the exact formats. It might be worth checking their FAQ or support documentation for a more detailed answer. But the overall impression is that it's designed to be very user-friendly.
Good point. But the testimonials are pretty convincing. Transformed the way I learn, brilliant adaptive review system, retention and confidence have soared. These are strong endorsements.
Absolutely. And they come from diverse users, a language learner, a tutor, and a graduate student. That suggests a broad appeal and effectiveness across different learning styles and levels. It's not just hype. It seems to be delivering results.
So overall, Ricotta sounds like a really promising language learning app. The focus on efficiency, personalization, and data-driven insights is compelling. It's a smart approach to language acquisition.
I agree. It cleverly combines technology with established learning principles. The adaptive review, the intelligent vocabulary selection, and the memory analytics. It's a powerful combination. It's definitely worth checking out if you're serious about learning a new language.
Definitely. Thanks for breaking it down.
You're welcome. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating discussion about the nature of reasoning models and their relationship to large language models, or LLMs. The core argument? Reasoning models are, fundamentally, just LLMs. Intriguing, right?
Absolutely. I've seen a lot of debate around this. The author, Antayajas, makes a strong case, doesn't he? He directly challenges the narrative that recent advancements in reasoning capabilities are due to something other than LLMs.
Exactly. He points out that models like DeepSeek R1, often touted as something beyond a simple LLM, are actually pure decoder-only autoregressive models. It's the same next token prediction mechanism that was initially criticized. There's no hidden symbolic reasoning. It's all statistical prediction.
So the magic isn't some new architecture, but rather the scale and training methods? He mentions R10, which achieves similar results without supervised fine-tuning, relying instead on reinforcement learning and chain-of-thought prompting. That's a pretty powerful statement.
Precisely. And the S1 paper further supports this. It shows that surprisingly few examples, as few as 1,000, are needed to enable complex reasoning. This suggests the necessary representations for reasoning were already present in the pre-trained model, learned implicitly through the seemingly simple task of next word prediction. It's a testament to the power of unsupervised learning at scale.
I see. It's almost like the initial criticisms underestimated the potential of LLMs, right? They focused on the limitations of the then current models, not the potential of future, much larger models.
Exactly. The author argues that those who declared LLMs a dead end were simply wrong, and that attempting to rewrite history to fit a new narrative is unacceptable. He's not saying that being wrong is inherently bad, but the attempt to retroactively redefine things to avoid admitting a mistake is problematic.
That's a fair point. It highlights the importance of rigorous evaluation and avoiding premature conclusions in rapidly evolving fields like AI. It's easy to get caught up in the hype, but the underlying mechanisms are crucial to understand.
Absolutely. This article serves as a strong reminder to critically examine claims and to focus on the fundamental mechanisms at play. It's not about rebranding. It's about understanding the true capabilities of LLMs and their potential for future development.
So the takeaway is that the impressive reasoning abilities we're seeing aren't some magical leap beyond LLMs, but rather a testament to the power of scaling up LLMs and employing clever training techniques like reinforcement learning and chain-of-thought prompting. It's a powerful argument.
Precisely. And that's a wrap for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow with more insightful discussions from Hacker News. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fantastic article about making your Steam Deck even better using Nix. It's all about persistent package management, something that's a bit tricky on the Steam Deck's immutable file system. Exciting stuff!
Yeah, I've heard about the challenges with package persistence on SteamOS, so how does Nix solve this? Is it complicated?
Not at all, once you get the hang of it. The core idea is that Nix uses declarative configuration, not commands like apt install. You define what you want, and Nix handles the installation. And the key here is that Valve added /Nix to the list of directories that survive system updates. Clever, right?
Very clever. So we're talking about installing Nix itself first, then?
Exactly. The article walks you through it step by step. First, you install Nix in single user mode using a curl command. Important to note. That's -no daemon for SteamOS compatibility. Then, you source your .bash_ profile. Simple enough, so far.
And then we switch to the stable channel, I presume? To avoid potential instability?
Precisely. You use Nix channel to add the stable NixOS channel. The article specifies 24.11, but you should always check the NixOS homepage for the latest stable version. Good practice.
Okay, got it. But Nix alone isn't the whole story, right? There's Home Manager involved?
Yes. Home Manager makes things much more user-friendly. You add its channel using Nix channel again, making sure the versions match your Nix installation. Then, a crucial step. Back up your .bash_ profile and .bashrc files before running the Home Manager installation with Nix shell. Don't skip that backup.
I see. So after installing Home Manager, we configure it with a home.nix file, right? That's where we define our packages?
Exactly. The home.nix file is where the magic happens. It sets your username, home directory, enables bash integration, and, importantly, it has a home.packages list. That's where you add your desired packages, like nmap and cause in the example. And don't forget the home.state version. That needs to match your initial Nix installation.
Ah, yes, I noticed that. So after adding packages, we run Home Manager switch to apply the changes. And then, we can test with cause or nmap.
You got it. That's the basic workflow. Modify home.nix, then Home Manager switch. The article even suggests creating a desktop shortcut to your home.nix for easy access. Very thoughtful.
I noticed a tip about the comma package. What's that all about?
Oh, that's a neat trick. It lets you run any package temporarily without adding it to your home.nix file. Just prefix the command with a comma, nmap for example. Handy for one-off uses.
That's pretty cool. So in essence, Nix and Home Manager provide a robust and flexible way to manage persistent packages on the Steam Deck, overcoming the limitations of the immutable file system. It's a bit more involved than traditional package managers, but the benefits are clear.
Absolutely. It's a bit of an initial investment in learning, but the long-term benefits of having a consistent and easily manageable software environment on your Steam Deck are well worth it. And remember, Nix can do so much more than just manage packages. It's a powerful tool. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into persistent packages on the Steam Deck using Nix. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into RetroFab, a truly remarkable online collection of playable 3D simulations of classic handheld electronic games. It's amazing!
I've heard whispers about this. So it's not just emulating the games, right? It's recreating the entire experience? The packaging, the instruction manuals, the whole shebang?
Exactly. Precisely. Each simulation includes the gameplay itself, a playable 3D model of the original device, but also rotatable 3D views of the original packaging and browsable scans of the instruction manuals. It's incredibly detailed.
Wow, that's a level of detail I haven't seen before. What kind of games are we talking about? Just a few obscure titles, or a massive collection?
Oh, it's extensive. We're talking about games from Acclaim, Atari, Bandai, Casio, Coleco, a huge range of manufacturers and iconic titles like Frogger, Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, even some McDonald's Happy Meal games. There are even Nintendo Game & Watch titles, spanning various series like Silver, Gold, Widescreen, and more. It's a treasure trove of nostalgia.
That's incredible. And it's all playable in the browser? No downloads or emulators needed?
That's the beauty of it. It's all browser-based, making it incredibly accessible. Plus, it recently added gamepad and touchscreen support, making it even more versatile.
I see. So it's not just a collection, it's a living project. The creator, Ititso, is actively updating and adding games based on community feedback, right?
Absolutely. The comments section is full of requests, bug reports, and enthusiastic praise. Ititso is incredibly responsive, fixing bugs quickly and actively incorporating suggestions for new games. It's a fantastic example of community-driven development. It's really quite impressive.
It really is. But I did notice some comments mentioning bugs. Doesn't that detract from the overall experience?
Well, yes, of course. No software is perfect. But I think it's a testament to Ititso's commitment that they're so quick to address these issues. It shows a level of dedication that's rare. Plus, the sheer scale of the project makes a few bugs almost inevitable. It's a massive undertaking.
That's a fair point. It's a huge project. And the fact that it's even functional is a feat in itself. The level of detail is just astounding. I mean, even the box art is in 3D.
Exactly. That's what sets it apart. It's not just about playing the games. It's about experiencing them as they were originally intended, down to the smallest detail. It's a truly remarkable achievement. I'm really excited to see what Ititso adds next.
Me too. This is definitely worth checking out for anyone who's nostalgic for those classic handheld games, or even for those who are just curious about a piece of gaming history. It's a fantastic resource.
Absolutely. And that's it for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to check out RetroFab. You won't be disappointed. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into Book Talk, a platform designed to simplify and enhance book club experiences within Slack. It's all about streamlining the process, fostering insightful discussions, and cultivating a culture of growth through shared reading. Exciting, right?
Absolutely. So what's the core functionality? How does it actually make book clubs easier?
Well, it tackles several key pain points. First, book selection. Book Talk lets teams collaboratively vote on their next read, ensuring everyone feels invested in the choice. Now, no more endless email chains debating Tolstoy versus Stephen King.
That's a huge win. I've been in book clubs where choosing a book took longer than reading it. What about the actual discussion part?
Exactly. And that's where Book Talk really shines. They provide curated discussion questions tailored to each book to spark meaningful conversations within your Slack channel. No more awkward silences or struggling to find something to talk about. It's all there, ready to go.
So it's essentially a structured framework for book clubs within a familiar platform, Slack. Does it handle scheduling and reminders too?
Yes. You can set a time frame for reading the book, ensuring everyone stays on track. I imagine it integrates seamlessly with Slack's notification system, so no one misses out on the discussions. It's all about efficient management.
This sounds incredibly useful for workplace book clubs, or even just friend groups who want a more organized approach. Is there a cost involved?
Currently, they're offering free lifetime access to beta users, so it's a great opportunity to jump in and try it out risk-free. They're clearly aiming for rapid user acquisition and feedback.
I see. Interesting. One potential drawback I see is the reliance on Slack. Not everyone uses Slack, and it might exclude some potential participants.
That's a valid point. It does limit accessibility to those already using Slack. However, given Slack's popularity, especially in professional settings, it's a reasonable trade-off for the streamlined integration they offer. Perhaps future iterations could explore alternative platforms.
Definitely. But overall, BookTalk seems like a really well-thought-out solution to a common problem. The collaborative book selection, curated discussion prompts, and integrated scheduling features are all compelling.
Absolutely. It's a clever application of technology to enhance a classic activity. It's all about making book clubs more accessible, engaging, and ultimately, more enjoyable. Check it out.
I definitely will. Thanks for the overview.
You're welcome. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a truly spectacular discovery from the Euclid telescope. An almost perfect Einstein ring. It's mind-blowing.
An Einstein ring? I'm intrigued. What exactly is that?
Exactly. It's a phenomenon predicted by Einstein's theory of general relativity. Basically, the gravity of a massive object, like a galaxy, bends the light from a more distant object behind it. If the alignment is just right, that bent light forms a ring around the foreground galaxy. Think of it like a cosmic lens.
So a natural magnifying glass in space? Amazing!
Precisely. And this particular ring, captured by Euclid, is exceptionally well defined. The image is stunning. It shows the galaxy NGC 6505, relatively close to us, with this perfect circle of light surrounding it. That light is actually from a galaxy more than 4 billion light-years away.
4 billion light-years. That's unfathomable. What's the significance of this discovery beyond the pretty picture?
Oh, it's huge! Einstein rings are incredibly valuable tools for astronomers. They allow us to study galaxies that would otherwise be too faint to see. Plus, the shape and size of the ring tell us about the mass of the foreground galaxy, including its dark matter content.
Ah, dark matter. The mysterious stuff that makes up most of the universe's mass, but we can't directly observe. What did they find out about the dark matter in NGC 6505?
Right. They estimate that NGC 6505 is about 11% dark matter. That's relatively low compared to the universe as a whole, where dark matter is thought to dominate. This gives us more data points to refine our models of dark matter distribution.
So, this one observation helps us understand the larger picture of the universe? That's incredible! It's like a tiny piece of a giant puzzle, but a crucial one.
Exactly. And that's what makes the Euclid mission so exciting. It's designed to map the large-scale structure of the universe, including the distribution of dark matter and dark energy, which together make up 95% of the universe. This Einstein ring is just a preview of the amazing discoveries to come.
It's truly remarkable. The fact that this ring was found in a galaxy known since 1884 highlights just how powerful Euclid's observational capabilities are. It's finding new things even in areas we thought we understood well.
You're absolutely right. It shows that there's still so much we don't know, and that even seemingly well-studied regions of space can hold surprises. The Euclid telescope is revolutionizing our understanding of the cosmos, one stunning image at a time.
I can't wait to see what else it discovers. This has been a fascinating discussion.
My pleasure. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the amazing world of Einstein rings and the Euclid telescope. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating blog post about leveraging Claude, Anthropic's LLM, for personal software development. The author dramatically sped up an Emacs package by using Claude to port parts of it to Rust, achieving a 1000x performance improvement. Amazing, right?
1,000 times faster? That's incredible. So what was the original problem? Was it just slow performance, or something more complex?
Exactly. The problem was the Obsidian update function in an Emacs plugin for Obsidian.md. It was painfully slow because it rescanned the entire Obsidian vault for tags and metadata every time a note was opened. Think of it like constantly rebuilding your entire library catalog every time you want to find a single book.
Ugh, that sounds terrible. So the author decided to rewrite it in Rust for better performance. But why use Claude at all? Couldn't they have just done it themselves?
That's where it gets really interesting. The author, initially, planned to do it themselves, but decided to experiment with Claude. They didn't expect much, but Claude ended up doing most of the heavy lifting. They gave Claude the Emacs Lisp code and asked it to create a Rust program that would do the same thing, outputting the data as JSON. And it worked!
Whoa, so Claude not only understood the Emacs Lisp code, but also translated it into Rust and even generated the necessary project files? That's some serious code comprehension.
Precisely. It even generated a functioning cargo.tom file. It wasn't perfect, of course. There were a few minor bugs, but Claude was able to fix those with minimal prompting. The author then asked Claude to create the Emacs Lisp code to integrate the new Rust program. And again, it largely worked on the first try. The whole project took only an afternoon.
That's astonishing. It sounds almost too good to be true. Did the author express any reservations or criticisms about Claude's performance?
Yes, the author did acknowledge some reservations. While impressed, they also questioned whether their initial surprise was due to outdated expectations of LLMs. They pointed out that Claude has improved significantly, and that the task, while impressive, was still relatively contained about 1,000 lines of code. They also noted that while LLMs are great at generating code, they still lag behind human experts in debugging, refactoring, and overall system design.
That's a fair point. It's easy to get caught up in the hype. So, what were the author's overall takeaways from this experience?
The author was ultimately very excited. They felt a renewed sense of joy in building personal software, something they hadn't felt in years. They believe LLMs like Claude can significantly reduce the friction in personal software development, allowing developers to focus on higher-level design and concepts. They also highlighted the need for better tooling and interface design around LLMs to fully realize their potential. The current interfaces, they felt, are lagging behind the capabilities of the models themselves.
That's a great point. It seems like the tools are still catching up to the technology, but the potential is undeniably exciting. This really highlights how quickly LLMs are advancing and how they're changing the landscape of software development. It's truly remarkable.
Absolutely. It's a game changer, and we're only scratching the surface. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of AI-assisted software development. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating project, WikiTalk, an endless Wikipedia feed designed to combat algorithm addiction. It's a really clever idea, don't you think?
Absolutely. The concept is brilliant. It leverages the vastness of Wikipedia, offering a seemingly endless stream of information, but without the manipulative algorithms that plague so many social media platforms. It's like a curated randomness, right?
Exactly. It's a refreshing change. The article highlights how the developer, Isaac Germal, intentionally avoided incorporating a personalized algorithm. He felt that we're already overwhelmed by algorithms in our daily lives, and WikiTalk should be a refuge, a place for serendipitous discovery, a digital escape, if you will.
I see. So it's purely random? No attempt to tailor the content to user preferences? That's a bold choice. I wonder about the long-term engagement. Will people stay interested without that personalized touch?
That's a great point. The article mentions that Germal has resisted calls to add such an algorithm, emphasizing the anti-algorithmic nature of the project. But it's also addictive in its own way, the article says. That endless scroll is inherently engaging, even without personalization. It's the thrill of the unknown, the surprise of discovering something completely unexpected.
Right, the element of surprise. It's like opening a random Wikipedia page and letting your curiosity take over. The article mentions examples like SX Window, Xanthosilin, and Lorenzo Ghiberti, Topics I'd never have stumbled upon otherwise. That's powerful.
Precisely. And the speed of its development is also noteworthy. Garamol built a working prototype in just a few hours, leveraging AI coding tools like Anthropic's Claude and Cursor. Amazing, right? The whole thing is only a few hundred lines of code.
Incredible. That speaks volumes about the power of AI in software development. It also highlights the rapid iteration and deployment possible with modern tools. The fact that he open-sourced the code on GitHub is also a fantastic move, fostering community contribution and further development.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the collaborative spirit of the open-source community, and the fact that it's already gained traction on Hacker News, reaching the top of the daily news items, shows its appeal. It's a simple idea, beautifully executed, a breath of fresh air in the world of algorithmic feeds.
It really is. It makes you think about the potential for using technology to create more mindful and less manipulative digital experiences. Wikitalk is a great example of that. A small project with a big impact.
Indeed. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this discussion on Wikitalk and its unique approach to combating algorithm addiction. Goodbye, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating JavaScript project, a kaleidoscope generator. It's incredibly cool, using just Canvas and a bit of clever math. Let's break it down.
I'm stoked. So it's all client-side, right? No server-side magic involved?
Exactly. Pure client-side JavaScript. The magic happens in the browser, using the Canvas element. It takes an image, any image really, and transforms it into a mesmerizing kaleidoscope. Think spinning, mirrored patterns.
Whoa, that's impressive. How does it handle different image sizes and aspect ratios? Does it scale proportionally?
It does. The code cleverly calculates a scale factor based on the input image's dimensions, ensuring the kaleidoscope always fits perfectly within the canvas. It uses math.mine, img width, img height, to find the smaller dimension and scales accordingly. Smart, huh?
Very smart. And the number of slices? Is that configurable?
Absolutely. The code defines a k.slices variable, which controls the number of mirrored segments. You can adjust this value to create different kaleidoscope effects. More slices mean more intricate patterns, but it might impact performance a bit, depending on the image and the browser.
Makes sense. So how does the animation work? Is it just a simple rotation?
It's more sophisticated than just a simple rotation. The code uses request animation frame for smooth animation, and it incorporates both rotation and translation to create a dynamic, swirling effect. There's also an easing function to make the transitions smoother. It's not just rotating, it's subtly shifting and scaling the image segments as well.
Nice. And the user interface? How does the user interact with it?
The UI is quite elegant. There's a simple menu that allows users to change the image source, the number of slices, and even the animation speed, all done dynamically, updating the kaleidoscope in real time. There's even a back button for easy navigation.
That's really well designed. I'm curious about the mouse move event listener. What's its purpose?
That's what adds the interactive element. Moving the mouse influences the kaleidoscope's position and rotation, creating a truly responsive experience. It's not just a static visual. It reacts to user input, making it much more engaging.
Impressive. So it's not just a pretty picture, it's a well-structured, interactive piece of code. I'm curious about the use of ctx.save and ctx.restore. Why are those important?
Excellent question. Those are crucial for managing the canvas's drawing state. Each ctx.save saves the current transformation matrix, and ctx.restore restores it. This allows the code to apply transformations to individual slices without affecting the others. Without them, the transformations would accumulate, leading to chaotic results.
I see. That's a really elegant way to handle the transformations. It's all very clever, using simple techniques to create something quite visually stunning.
Precisely. It's a testament to the power of JavaScript and the Canvas API. The code is well commented and easy to follow, making it a great example of clean, efficient coding. It's a project that's both beautiful and educational.
Definitely. It's a great example of how simple code can create something visually captivating. Thanks for breaking it down for us.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bites and News. Join us next time for more exciting explorations of the tech world. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bites and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of Pythagoras and the Pythagoreans, exploring their cult-like devotion to numbers and its lasting impact on science and philosophy. Let's get started.
I'm really excited about this. The article mentions a lot of legends surrounding Pythagoras. Was he a mathematical genius, a religious leader, or something in between? A friend. It's quite a mystery, isn't it?
Absolutely. The article highlights the ambiguity surrounding Pythagoras' life and accomplishments. Many accounts are from centuries after his death, making it hard to separate fact from myth. Some stories paint him as a near-divine figure, performing miracles like accurately counting fish in a net and even killing a snake by biting it back.
Wow, that's quite a character. But the core of their belief system seems to have been centered around numbers, right? They believed the universe was fundamentally mathematical.
Precisely. They saw numbers as not just tools for calculation, but as the building blocks of reality. Think of it. The perfect number 10, the harmony of the spheres, the mystical significance of certain numbers and geometric shapes. It was a deeply held belief system.
And this belief system led to some pretty significant developments, didn't it? Like the discovery of irrational numbers, which, according to the article, was apparently quite a shock to the Pythagoreans.
Exactly. The discovery of irrational numbers, numbers that can't be expressed as a simple fraction, completely shattered their worldview. The legend of Hippocampus being drowned for revealing this secret speaks volumes about how deeply they held onto their beliefs. It was a real crisis of faith for them.
I see. So they weren't exactly open-minded scientists in the modern sense? More like a secretive cult?
That's a fair assessment. The article suggests they were more of a religious order than a purely scientific group. Their focus was on a specific way of life, with rituals and beliefs surrounding numbers and even dietary restrictions, like the famous ban on eating beans. It's a fascinating blend of religious and mathematical thought. Interesting.
But their influence on later thinkers is undeniable. The article mentions Copernicus and Newton, for example, seeing themselves as continuing Pythagoras' work.
Absolutely. Their ideas about the harmony of the spheres, the Musica Universalis, directly influenced Kepler's work on planetary motion centuries later, and the underlying belief in the mathematical elegance of the universe continues to resonate with scientists today. Even the concept of the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in modern physics echoes their core beliefs.
So even though their methods and some of their beliefs might seem outdated now, their fundamental conviction that mathematics holds the key to understanding the universe continues to inspire scientific inquiry. It's a powerful legacy.
Precisely. It's a testament to the enduring power of ideas, even when those ideas are wrapped in myth and legend. The story of Pythagoras and the Pythagoreans is a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge, even when driven by seemingly mystical beliefs, can have a profound and lasting impact on the world. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating world of ancient Greek mathematics and mysticism. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving into the exciting news of T-Mobile and Starlink opening their satellite texting beta test to everyone, completely free, until July. Isn't that amazing?
Absolutely. Free satellite texting? That's a game changer. I'm curious, how exactly does this work? Is it just for emergencies, or can you send regular texts?
It's not just for emergencies, which is the really cool part. The article says you can use it for regular texting too. It leverages Starlink's satellite network, so as long as you have a clear view of the sky, you're good to go. Think of it as extending cellular coverage to the most remote areas.
So, no more dead zones? That's huge for hikers, campers, anyone who ventures off the beaten path. But, is there a catch? Is it really completely free?
That's a great question. Yes, it's free until July. The article explicitly states that. After that, well, we'll have to wait and see what T-Mobile's plans are. But for now, it's a fantastic opportunity to experience this technology.
I see. And do you need to be a T-Mobile customer to participate? I'm with a different carrier.
Nope, that's another amazing aspect. The article emphasizes that you don't need to be a T-Mobile customer at all to use this service during the beta period. It's open to everyone.
This is incredible. It sounds almost too good to be true. I wonder about the limitations, though. Are there any restrictions on the number of messages you can send, or the length of the messages?
That's a valid point. The article doesn't go into those specifics, unfortunately. I think we'll have to wait and see how it performs in practice. But even with potential limitations, the sheer accessibility of this technology is groundbreaking.
Absolutely. It's a significant step towards truly ubiquitous communication. This could revolutionize emergency response in remote areas, and just improve connectivity for so many people.
Precisely. And the fact that it was announced during the Super Bowl shows just how much T-Mobile and Starlink are betting on this technology. It's not just a small-scale test. They're going big.
It's definitely a bold move. I'm excited to see how this unfolds and what the future holds for satellite-based communication. This could be the start of something truly revolutionary.
Agreed. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you'll tune in again tomorrow for more exciting tech updates. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into Cooperative Linux, or CoLinux, a fascinating project that lets you run Linux natively on Windows. It's incredibly efficient, unlike traditional virtualization methods.
Right. I've always been intrigued by the idea of running Linux on Windows without the performance overhead of a virtual machine. So how does CoLinux achieve this amazing feat?
It's all about cooperative multitasking and a clever use of drivers. Instead of emulating the entire hardware, CoLinux uses special drivers within Windows to interact with the hardware. Think of it as a bridge, seamlessly translating requests between the Linux kernel and the Windows system.
So the Linux kernel runs in a privileged mode, right? That's a key aspect, isn't it? How does it manage to avoid conflicts with the Windows kernel?
Exactly. It operates in Ring 0, but the magic is in the constant switching between the host OS and the CoLinux kernel. This allows CoLinux to have full control over its allocated memory space, managing paging and protection independently. It's a very elegant solution. It's almost like a dance, a carefully choreographed exchange of control.
A dance, I like that. And because it uses the same binary format as native Linux, you can run unmodified distributions, correct? That's a huge advantage over other methods.
Absolutely. No need for special builds or modifications. You can just take your favorite distro and run it. It's seamless. The article even mentions running KNOPPIX Japanese edition on Windows using CoLinux. That's pretty cool.
It is. But what about hardware virtualization? How does CoLinux handle that? I mean, you have two operating systems sharing the same hardware?
That's where the emulated devices come in. CoLinux doesn't access I/O devices directly. Instead, it interacts with emulated devices provided by the CoLinux drivers in Windows. A regular file in Windows could act as a block device in CoLinux, for example. Interrupts are also cleverly handled, ensuring smooth operation for both systems.
So it's all about abstraction and efficient resource management. That's impressive. The article also mentions portability. Is CoLinux limited to Windows?
Not at all. Unlike user mode Linux, CoLinux only needs a small set of primitives from the host OS kernel. This makes it surprisingly portable. They're even working on a React OS port. It's a testament to the design's elegance and flexibility.
That's remarkable. It seems like CoLinux offers a compelling alternative to traditional virtualization, especially for those who want a lightweight and efficient way to run Linux on Windows. The fact that it's open source is a huge plus too.
Precisely. It's a testament to the ingenuity of open source development, and the project's history shows a dedicated community, constantly working on improvements and updates. Even though it seems development has slowed down recently, there were attempts at 64-bit support, but it seems those efforts were ultimately unsuccessful. Still, the core concept remains incredibly impressive.
Definitely, it's a fascinating piece of software engineering. Thanks for shedding light on CoLinux. It's a great example of how clever design can overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into Sir Michael Atiyah's insightful 2002 lecture, Mathematics in the 20th Century. A fascinating overview, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's amazing how much ground he covers. I'm particularly interested in his discussion of the shift from local to global perspectives. He uses complex analysis as a prime example, right?
Precisely. He contrasts the 19th century focus on explicit formulas for functions with the 20th century emphasis on global properties like singularities and domains. It's a beautiful illustration of a broader trend in mathematics.
And that's not limited to complex analysis. He extends this local to global theme to differential equations and even number theory, comparing local and global theories in a really elegant way. It's almost poetic, the way he connects these seemingly disparate fields.
I see. Yes, the analogy is striking. He also highlights the increase in dimensions, moving from one complex variable to multiple variables, and from curves and surfaces to higher dimensional manifolds. This shift wasn't just a quantitative increase. It fundamentally changed the nature of the problems.
Exactly. It forced mathematicians to grapple with concepts that were harder to visualize, pushing the boundaries of intuition. And then there's the fascinating transition from commutative to non-commutative algebra, spurred by Hamilton's quaternions and the impact of quantum mechanics.
Yes, that's a crucial point. The non-commutative nature of quantum mechanics profoundly impacted algebra, leading to new areas of study and applications. He also discusses the move from linear to nonlinear systems, highlighting solitons and chaos as key examples of nonlinear behavior.
Right, and the contrast between solitons, this unexpectedly organized behavior, and chaos is particularly striking. It shows the richness and complexity of nonlinear systems.
He then delves into the age-old tension between geometry and algebra, framing it as a philosophical debate. He cleverly uses the Faustian bargain as an analogy, suggesting that algebra, while powerful, can sometimes lead to a loss of geometric intuition.
That's a really insightful analogy. It highlights the potential dangers of over-reliance on purely algebraic manipulation at the expense of geometric understanding. But he also acknowledges the value of both approaches, emphasizing that they are complementary rather than mutually exclusive.
Absolutely. He then shifts to discuss unifying techniques like homology theory and K-theory, showing how these tools transcend disciplinary boundaries. It's remarkable how he connects these to seemingly unrelated areas like topology, algebra, and even number theory.
The breadth of application is truly impressive. And the discussion of Lie groups and their role in unifying different geometries is equally compelling. It's a testament to the power of abstract mathematical structures.
Yes, he also touches upon the classification of finite simple groups, acknowledging the controversy surrounding its importance. However, he highlights the monster group as a particularly exciting discovery, opening up new avenues of research.
That's a great point. The monster group is a fascinating example of how even seemingly complete classifications can lead to unexpected and significant discoveries. And his discussion of the impact of physics on mathematics is equally compelling.
Indeed, he traces the influence of physics from classical mechanics to quantum field theory and string theory, showing how physics has both driven and enriched mathematical development. The interplay between these fields is truly remarkable.
He concludes by speculating on the future of mathematics, suggesting that the 21st century might be the era of quantum mathematics, or infinite-dimensional mathematics. It's a bold prediction, but given the trends he's outlined, it seems plausible.
It's a thought-provoking conclusion. He mentions Kone's non-commutative differential geometry and Arakelov geometry as potential areas of significant development, and he also emphasizes the continued importance of low-dimensional geometry, highlighting its mysteries and connections to physics.
A truly comprehensive and inspiring overview. It leaves you with a sense of wonder and excitement about the future of mathematics. Thank you for this insightful discussion.
My pleasure. And thank you to our listeners for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating world of 20th century mathematics. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into Emmy Noether's theorem and its seismic impact on physics. It's a truly fascinating story.
I'm eager to hear this. I've heard whispers of Noether's theorem, but never a full explanation. What's the core idea?
Essentially, Noether showed that fundamental physical laws are direct consequences of simple symmetries. Think about it. Mind-blowing, right?
Totally mind-blowing. But what exactly are these symmetries? Can you give me an example?
Sure. Imagine rotating an equilateral triangle. You can rotate it by 120 degrees or 240 degrees, and it looks exactly the same. That's a symmetry. Or, consider the laws of physics. They don't change based on your location, right? That's translation symmetry.
Okay, I see. So these symmetries are like hidden rules that govern how things behave?
Exactly. Noether's theorem connects these symmetries to conservation laws. For example, translation symmetry, the laws of physics don't change with location, leads to the conservation of momentum. Time translation symmetry, the laws don't change over time, leads to the conservation of energy.
Wow, that's elegant. So before Noether, energy conservation was just assumed?
Yeah, pretty much. It was a fundamental axiom. Noether showed it's a consequence of a deeper underlying symmetry. This changed everything.
Incredible. But the article mentions Einstein's general relativity causing a problem. How did Noether's theorem solve that?
General relativity messed with the classical understanding of energy conservation, because space-time itself can stretch and shrink. Now, Noether's work provided a more robust framework, showing that energy conservation isn't always absolute. It's tied to the symmetry of the system. If the symmetry is broken, conservation can be broken too.
So, a breaking symmetry means energy isn't conserved? That's counterintuitive.
It was revolutionary at the time. And it's still relevant today. The expanding universe, for instance, breaks time translation symmetry, leading to a decrease in the energy of light from the early universe as it stretches.
Fascinating. So Noether's theorem isn't just a historical curiosity. It's still used in modern physics?
Absolutely. It was crucial in developing the standard model of particle physics. Symmetries of quantum fields dictate conservation laws for fundamental particles, like charge conservation. It's a cornerstone of modern theoretical physics.
It sounds like Noether's work continues to inspire new discoveries. The article mentions physicists still exploring its implications. That's amazing!
It truly is. It's a testament to the power of fundamental mathematical insights to reshape our understanding of the universe. Now, Noether's theorem is a beautiful example of the deep connection between mathematics and physics.
This has been a truly enlightening discussion. Thank you for explaining Noether's theorem so clearly.
My pleasure. And thank you for listening to Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of physics and mathematics. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving into Py3TTS Wrapper, a Python library that simplifies using various text-to-speech APIs. It's a really exciting project, offering a unified interface for multiple services. Think of it as a one-stop shop for all your TTS needs.
That sounds amazing. So what makes Py3TTS Wrapper stand out from other TTS solutions? Is it just the support for multiple APIs? Or are there other key features?
It's definitely more than just API support. The real power lies in its unified interface. You get consistent methods across all supported services. Speak, synth to file, get _ voices, and so on. This simplifies development significantly. Time. Imagine the time saved. No more wrestling with each API's unique quirks.
I see. So which APIs does it support? And are there any limitations?
Oh, it supports a wide range. We're talking AWS Poly, Google TTS, Microsoft Azure TTS, IBM Watson, 11 Labs, Wit.ai, eSpeak-NG, and Play, HT. Even some experimental ones, like Pico TTS and Sherpa on X are included. But, a key point, some features, like SSML support and on-word events, aren't available for all engines. The documentation clearly outlines which features are supported by each.
That's a pretty comprehensive list. What about SSML support? That's a big deal for advanced TTS applications.
Absolutely. Many engines support SSML, allowing for fine-grained control over pronunciation, pauses, and emphasis. However, as I mentioned, it's not universally supported. For engines that don't natively support it, PY3TTS wrapper cleverly strips out the SSML tags, ensuring compatibility. It's a smart workaround.
That's clever. What about installation? Is it straightforward?
Pretty much. A simple pip install will get you started, but you might need to install some system dependencies depending on your OS and the specific TTS engines you want to use. The documentation provides detailed instructions for each engine and OS. It even covers using pipe NV and UV for managing dependencies.
I noticed it mentions system dependencies like port audio. What's that for?
Yes. That's for audio playback control. Features like pausing, resuming, and stopping audio playback rely on port audio. It's a common audio library, but you'll need to install it separately on Linux and Mac OS. Windows usually handles this differently.
Got it. And what about authentication? How does it handle API keys and credentials for each service?
Each service has its own authentication method. The library provides client classes for each engine, and you'll need to provide the appropriate credentials. The documentation gives clear examples for each API, showing how to set up the client objects with your keys. It's well documented, so you shouldn't have any trouble.
That's reassuring. One last question. How easy is it to add a new engine to the wrapper if, say, a new TTS service emerges?
The documentation actually provides a detailed guide on extending the library to support new engines. It's a modular design, making it relatively straightforward to add new APIs. You'll need to create a new engine directory, implement the client and engine classes, and update the init.py file. It's a bit involved, but the steps are clearly laid out.
Excellent. This sounds like a very powerful and well-designed library. Thanks for the overview.
My pleasure. Remember to check out the PY3TTS wrapper project on PyPI and GitHub for more details. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep, pun intended, into a truly ambitious project. Deep, an initiative aiming to establish a permanent human presence under the sea. It's mind-blowing.
Whoa, a permanent underwater settlement? That sounds straight out of a sci-fi novel. What's the story behind this seemingly crazy idea?
It all started with a mysterious, deep-pocketed anonymous investor who's pouring hundreds of millions into this project. They're aiming to significantly increase our understanding of the ocean, a realm we still know surprisingly little about.
Interesting. So how are they planning to achieve this permanent underwater living?
They're building these incredible underwater habitats called sentinels. Think of them as high-tech, pressure-resistant underwater homes, capable of being deployed to depths of 200 meters. That's way beyond the sunlight zone.
200 meters? That's incredibly deep. What kind of technology are we talking about here?
The sentinels are built from specially developed steel to withstand the immense pressure. They're designed for up to 28 days of occupancy initially, but the ultimate goal is months, even years of continuous habitation. They're also designed to be relocatable, unlike previous attempts.
So it's not just about living underwater. It's about creating mobile research stations. That's a game changer for marine science. But what about safety? The Titan tragedy is still fresh in everyone's minds.
Absolutely. Safety is paramount. DEEP is working with DNV, a leading classification and safety agency, to ensure every aspect of the design and manufacturing process is rigorously tested and certified. They're not cutting corners. It's a far cry from the Titan.
That's reassuring. But even with the best technology, living underwater for extended periods presents unique challenges. How are they preparing people for this?
They're building a full-scale replica of the Sentinel on land, a simulator for training. This allows them to thoroughly assess the psychological impact of being confined in a small space with others for weeks on end. It's like a boot camp for aquanauts.
And what about the logistics, food, for example? How do you feed people living at such depths?
Yes, the culinary aspect. They've got a chef, Joe Costa, creating a special menu with strong flavors to counteract the pressure's effect on taste buds. Think vacuum-sealed gourmet meals. Slow-roasted beef, truffle polenta, sticky toffee pudding. It's quite extravagant.
Extravagant indeed. But given the metabolic demands of living underwater, it makes sense. This whole project is incredibly ambitious, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Precisely. It's not just about technological innovation. It's about expanding our understanding of the ocean and our place within it. The potential for scientific discovery is immense. And who knows, maybe one day we'll all be enjoying a sticky toffee pudding 200 meters below the surface.
That's a thought. Thanks for shedding light on this fascinating project. It's certainly something to keep an eye on.
My pleasure. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in to Tech Bytes and News. Join us again tomorrow for another dose of tech news and insights. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving into a fascinating case study from Massena, New York. How a small town wrestled control of its electricity grid from a private utility, and what the long-term effects have been. It's a story of community resilience, legal battles, and ultimately, lower energy bills. Intriguing, right?
Absolutely. I'm particularly interested in the long-term implications. Did this actually lead to lower costs and improved service, or was it just a short-lived victory?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The article highlights that after a 7-year legal battle and multiple referendums, Massena successfully took over its electric utility in 1981. Immediately, residential rates dropped by 24%. That's a significant win.
Wow, a quarter reduction. That's impressive. But did that savings persist? Were there any unforeseen consequences?
That's where it gets really interesting. The article points out that even now, over 40 years later, Massena still enjoys some of the cheapest and cleanest electricity in the state. Their rates are around 4 cents per kilowatt hour, compared to the regional average of closer to 15 cents. That's a huge difference.
That's remarkable sustained success. But wasn't there opposition? I mean, it took 7 years of legal battles. What was the nature of the resistance?
Oh, the resistance was fierce. Niagara Mohawk, the incumbent utility, fought tooth and nail. They spent hundreds of thousands on campaigns against the referendum, even using divisive tactics to turn neighbor against neighbor. It really was a David and Goliath story.
And the unions? I've heard that union involvement can be a double-edged sword in these situations.
You're right. It was a complex situation. Initially, some unions sided with Niagara Mohawk, fearing job losses. However, the United Auto Workers, representing local GM workers, strongly supported public power. Interestingly, after the takeover, Massena Electric's linemen joined the IBEW and have been unionized ever since.
So the union situation resolved itself eventually. What about the long-term sustainability of this model? Is it replicable elsewhere?
That's a crucial point. While Massena's success is inspiring, the article cautions that replicating this on a larger scale would be extremely challenging. The key factor in Massena's low rates is their access to preferential hydropower rates from the New York Power Authority, NYPA. That resource is already allocated, making it difficult to expand this model.
I see. So it's not just about the political will, but also the availability of resources. What about the current climate? Are there similar movements happening elsewhere in New York?
Absolutely. The article mentions similar efforts in Rochester and on Long Island, focusing on bringing more power generation under public control. There's a growing movement towards public power, driven by a desire for more affordable, reliable, and clean energy. But as Massena's experience shows, it's a long and arduous fight.
It sounds like a David and Goliath story, repeated across the state. So what's the takeaway here? Is this just a local success story, or does it offer broader lessons for other communities considering similar initiatives?
I think it offers several key lessons. First, community unity and persistence are crucial. Second, thorough planning and legal preparation are essential to overcome powerful opposition. And third, access to affordable and clean energy sources is a significant factor in the long-term success of such initiatives. It's a powerful example of what's possible when a community decides to take control of its future.
A truly inspiring story. Thanks for sharing this insightful analysis.
My pleasure. And thank you for listening to Tech Bytes and News. We hope you join us again tomorrow for another fascinating discussion. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating development in the world of pizza and international business. Domino's Pizza's decision to close 172 stores in Japan. It's a big move.
Wow, 172 stores? That's a significant number. What's driving this decision? Is it just a simple case of poor performance?
Not quite. While poor performance is certainly a factor, it's more nuanced than that. Many of these stores were opened during the COVID-19 pandemic boom in delivery services. The surge in demand led to expansion. But now, with demand falling and costs rising, these locations are proving unsustainable. It's a classic case of supply and demand, but on a global scale.
I see. So it's not necessarily a reflection of Domino's overall performance in Japan, but rather a correction after a period of rapid expansion fueled by pandemic-related circumstances. Makes sense.
Exactly. The article highlights that Domino's Pizza Enterprises, based in Australia, is aiming to streamline its operations and focus on more profitable ventures. They're aiming for long-term success by cutting costs and improving earnings. They expect these closures to save them about 1.5 billion yen annually.
1.5 billion yen is a substantial amount. This restructuring sounds like a strategic move to ensure the long-term health of the company in Japan, rather than a sign of overall failure. But, doesn't this also signal a potential shift in consumer behavior in Japan? Perhaps people are ordering less pizza delivery now?
That's a very insightful point. You're right, it could indicate a change in consumer habits. Perhaps the post-pandemic return to normalcy has seen people dining out more, or exploring other food delivery options. It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how Domino's adapts its strategy in Japan going forward. Perhaps a focus on different menu items, or a shift in marketing campaigns. It's a fascinating challenge for them.
Indeed. The article mentions that Domino's is prioritizing investments in areas that will improve earnings. This suggests a proactive approach to adapting to the changing market conditions. They're not just closing stores. They're actively planning for the future. A smart move, I think.
It certainly seems so. This whole situation highlights the challenges businesses face in adapting to post-pandemic realities and managing global expansion. It's a complex issue with many factors at play.
Precisely. And it's a reminder that even seemingly successful global brands need to constantly adapt and evolve to stay competitive. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News today. We hope you found this discussion insightful. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into a developing story: the Eaton fire in Southern California and Southern California Edison's involvement. The scale of this tragedy is immense. 17 lives lost, over 9,400 homes and businesses destroyed. It's truly devastating.
Absolutely. And the fact that Southern California Edison, SCE, is now admitting to finding irregularities in their equipment near the fire's origin is a huge development. This isn't just about property damage, it's about potential criminal negligence. The pressure is immense.
Precisely. Their investigation started almost 2 weeks after the January 7th fire, and they've already uncovered something significant: small white flashes on high-voltage transmission lines during power restoration. These flashes, according to SCE's president and CEO, Pedro Pizarro, indicate abnormal system function. Abnormal!
So these flashes, are they definitively linked to the fire's ignition? Or is it just circumstantial evidence at this point? I mean, correlation doesn't equal causation, right?
You're right to be cautious. Pizarro himself emphasized that this is ongoing investigation. However, the timing is incredibly suspicious. These flashes are similar to those seen on video footage near the equipment just before the fire started. It's a strong piece of the puzzle. Even if it's not the whole picture yet, it's a very strong piece of the puzzle.
I see. So the investigation is ongoing, but the potential consequences are already enormous. If SCE is found responsible, the implications for compensation to victims will be massive. And, of course, their reputation and future operations are on the line. This is a huge deal for the state's second-largest investor-owned utility.
Absolutely. The article highlights the potential for sweeping consequences. The sheer scale of the destruction, the loss of life, the homes, the businesses, means that any finding of fault against SCE could lead to massive legal battles and financial repercussions. It's a very serious situation. And the investigation could take months.
Months? That's a long time to wait for answers, especially for the victims and their families. The uncertainty must be agonizing. And the potential for further investigations into SCE's practices, beyond just this incident, is also a significant concern. This isn't just about one fire, it's about the broader safety of their infrastructure.
You're absolutely right. This incident raises serious questions about the maintenance and safety protocols of SCE and other power companies in the region. The article mentions Ivan Penn, the author, has covered similar issues in the past, highlighting the potential for a pattern of negligence. This isn't an isolated incident, and we need to be vigilant about preventing future tragedies. We need answers, and we need them now.
It's a critical situation, and the investigation's findings will have far-reaching implications. We'll be following this story closely and keeping our listeners updated. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And remember, stay informed and stay safe. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into the exciting Ada Spark Crate of the Year 2024 awards. The winners are truly pushing the boundaries of what's possible with Ada and Spark.
Absolutely. I'm particularly excited about the diversity of the winning projects. It shows the breadth of applications for these languages. So, who took home the top prizes?
Right. First up, the Ada Crate of the Year goes to Lionel Draghi for BBT, or Black Box Tester. It's a command line tool that uses plain English behavior specifications, written in Markdown, for test automation. Think incredibly readable tests.
That's brilliant. Using Markdown makes the specifications so accessible. It's a clever way to bridge the gap between specification and implementation, making testing much more intuitive, right?
Precisely. BBT handles everything from creating config files to running commands and comparing outputs. It's a really elegant solution for testing command line tools. It's a game changer for developers.
I see. And what about the Spark Crate of the Year? Spark is all about formal verification, right?
Exactly. The Spark Crate of the Year award went to Kevin Chadwick for eLogs, a portable message logging library. It's validated at Spark Silver level, guaranteeing the absence of runtime errors, crucial for memory safety, especially in embedded systems.
That's impressive. Memory safety is paramount, and having that formal verification is a huge advantage. The fact that it uses Alicraz crate configuration for static buffer allocation is also very smart, limiting memory usage. Very clever indeed.
Absolutely. You can even specify the maximum message length in the configuration, giving developers fine-grained control. It's a fantastic example of how Spark enhances reliability and efficiency.
And finally, the Embedded Crate of the Year? I'm curious about that one.
That award goes to Brent Seidel for BBS_Lisp, an embeddable Lisp interpreter written in Ada. It's designed for use in constrained hardware environments, highlighting Ada's portability. It's a testament to Ada's strength in embedded systems development.
That's unexpected, but in a good way. An embeddable Lisp interpreter in Ada? That's a niche but potentially very powerful tool for certain applications. It shows the versatility of Ada, doesn't it?
Exactly. It showcases Ada's ability to integrate with other languages and its suitability for resource-constrained environments. It's a really innovative contribution to the Ada ecosystem.
These awards highlight the vibrant Ada and SPR community and the innovative projects being developed. It's inspiring to see such high-quality work being recognized. I'm really impressed.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the power and versatility of Ada and Spark. Congratulations to all the winners. And thank you for listening to Tech Bytes and News. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving deep into Memento, a fascinating open-source video player specifically designed for Japanese language learning. It's built on MPV, which is already a powerhouse, but Memento adds some seriously cool features. Think grammar-aware subtitle search, kanji flashcards, and even Anki integration.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So it's not just any video player. It's a whole Japanese learning ecosystem built into one application. What makes the subtitle search so special? Is it just keyword searching, or is there something more sophisticated going on?
Exactly. It's way more than just a video player. The subtitle search is grammar-aware, meaning it understands Japanese sentence structure. So you're not just searching for individual words, but for grammatical structures and phrases. This is huge for learners trying to understand context.
I see. That's a significant advantage over simple keyword searches. And the Yomi-chan integration? That's a big deal for anyone familiar with that dictionary software. How seamless is the integration?
Oh, it's incredibly smooth. You get Yomi-chan-style kanji cards popping up right within the player, allowing you to look up words and phrases without ever leaving the video. It supports multiple dictionaries too, including JM-dict, JM-nidict, and even Kure-cake for slang. It's a real game-changer for immersion learning.
That's impressive. The Anki integration is also a key feature, right? How does that work?
Absolutely. It uses Anki Connect to create flashcards directly from the video subtitles. You can easily add new vocabulary and grammar points to your Anki decks, streamlining your study process. But, there's a caveat. If you can't add cards, only seeing a Show an Anki button, double-check your Anki card template. It might be missing something crucial.
Good point. That's important troubleshooting information. So it leverages existing tools like Yomi-chan and Anki, but adds its own unique grammar-aware search functionality. What about the technical side? What are the dependencies?
Ah, yes, the tech stack. It relies on Qt, MPV, SQLite 3, JSON-C, and libzip. Optionally, you can add MeCab for morphological analysis, and YouTube-DL or YT-DLP for streaming. The build process is detailed on GitHub, but it's worth noting that they provide pre-built binaries for Windows and Mac OS, making it easier for users who aren't comfortable compiling from source.
That's helpful. So it's well documented, and they cater to both experienced users and those who prefer a simpler installation. Are there any known issues or limitations?
Well, there are some platform-specific quirks. For example, on macOS, streaming might not work if MPV can't find YouTube-DL, and on Linux, Anki Flatpak users might need to configure Flatseal to grant access to the STMP directory for audio and image files. The documentation covers these issues pretty well, though.
Excellent. It sounds like a really well-thought-out project, addressing many common challenges faced by Japanese language learners. The fact that it's open source is also a huge plus, allowing for community contributions and improvements.
Absolutely. The open source nature is a key strength. It's a testament to the power of collaborative development and the dedication of the developers to create a valuable tool for the Japanese learning community. And if you're not into Memento, they even suggest an alternative, Anime Book, which is also worth checking out. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you found this discussion insightful. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a massive development in the AEI world. Ilya Sutskever's Safe Superintelligence is reportedly in talks to raise funding at a $20 billion valuation. Crazy, right?
$20 billion. That's astounding, especially considering they haven't even generated any revenue yet. What's the story behind this seemingly astronomical valuation?
Well, it's a combination of factors. First, Ilya Sutskever's reputation. He's a giant in the AI field, a key figure in OpenAI's early successes, including the technical groundwork for ChatGPT. Investors clearly see him as a safe bet, someone who can deliver.
I see. So it's a bet on the team and their potential, not necessarily on current performance. But a $20 billion valuation. That's 4 times their previous valuation of $5 billion just last September. What explains that jump?
That's the big question, isn't it? The article suggests it could be substantial. The article mentions that the company has already raised $1 billion from heavy hitters like Sequoia Capital, Andreessen Horowitz, and DST Global. This new round suggests a huge leap of faith, a bet on future potential. Perhaps they've shown some impressive, undisclosed breakthroughs.
It's a risky move for investors, though, isn't it? Investing that much money into a company with zero revenue is a huge gamble. What kind of returns are they expecting to justify such a valuation?
Exactly. It's a high-stakes game. But these are sophisticated investors. They wouldn't be involved unless they believed in the potential for exponential growth. Perhaps they've seen something truly revolutionary in Safe Superintelligence's technology. We just don't know yet.
Right. The article is pretty tight-lipped about the specifics of Safe Superintelligence's work. It mentions a founding team that includes some other big names from OpenAI and Apple. That's got to count for something, right?
Absolutely. The team's expertise is a huge draw for investors. It's a bet on their collective experience and ability to execute. But the lack of transparency is intriguing and makes you wonder what kind of groundbreaking technology they're developing.
It's all very hush-hush, which only adds to the intrigue, I guess. But a $20 billion valuation without any revenue. It's a bold statement about the future of AI, is a bet. It's a sign of just how much money is pouring into the sector.
Precisely. It highlights the incredible hype and investment surrounding AI right now. This is a major story, and we'll be following it closely to see how it unfolds. This is a huge bet on the future of AI. We'll keep you updated.
Definitely. Thanks for breaking down this fascinating development for us.
You're welcome. And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to Tech Bytes and News. Have a great day, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into a shocking revelation about Recap TCHA, a system we all interact with daily. It's not just about proving you're human, folks.
Right. I've always suspected something was up with those CAPTCHAs. They seem increasingly complex and time-consuming. What's the big reveal?
Well, a recent study reveals that Recap TCHA, despite being easily bypassed by bots, is actually a massive data harvesting operation. It's generating billions for Google, while simultaneously costing society a staggering 819 million hours of wasted human time. That's $6.1 billion in lost wages.
819 million hours? That's insane! I mean, I've spent countless minutes deciphering blurry images of crosswalks and fire hydrants. It's infuriating.
Exactly. The study, by Dr. Andrew Searles, shows reCAPTCHA isn't just about security, it's about tracking. It creates a detailed profile of your browsing habits, your device, everything. Think pixel-by-pixel browser fingerprints, real-time maps of your online activity. It's incredibly invasive.
So Google is profiting from our time and data, while offering a security measure that's essentially useless against sophisticated bots? That's a pretty cynical business model, isn't it? I mean, it's exploitative, to say the least.
Cynical is an understatement. The article points out that the image-based challenges take 557% longer than the simple checkbox ones. It's designed to be inefficient, maximizing data collection while minimizing actual security. It's a clever, albeit ethically questionable, strategy.
And the worst part? There's no opting out. If you want to use the internet, you're forced to participate in this data mining scheme. It's a bit like a digital toll booth where the toll is your privacy and time. It's a bit dystopian, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. It highlights a critical issue about the balance between online security and user privacy. Google's profiting from a system that's both inefficient and invasive. The estimated value of the tracking cookies alone is a mind-boggling $888 billion. That's more than the GDP of many countries.
This whole thing makes me wonder about the future of CAPTCHAs. If they're so easily circumvented and so exploitative, what's the alternative? Are there better ways to verify users without sacrificing privacy and time?
That's a great question, and one that needs serious consideration. Perhaps more sophisticated, less intrusive methods are needed, maybe focusing on behavioral analysis that doesn't require explicit user interaction. It's a complex problem, but definitely one that needs addressing.
Absolutely. This article really shines a light on the hidden costs of seemingly innocuous online interactions. It's a wake-up call, I think. We need to be more aware of how our data is being used and what we're giving up in exchange for online convenience.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope this discussion has sparked some thought about the systems we interact with daily. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into the shadowy world of sand trafficking in Latin America. It's not your typical crime story, folks. This is big business, incredibly lucrative, and surprisingly violent.
Wow, sand trafficking? That sounds unexpected. I mean, sand? It's everywhere, right? What makes it so valuable?
Exactly. But the demand for construction materials is huge, and illegal sand is significantly cheaper than the legally sourced stuff. This creates a massive incentive for criminal organizations. We're talking about militias, cartels, even corrupt officials, all profiting from this.
So it's not just about the sand itself, but the entire supply chain? The article mentions a case in Brazil, right? The Bonde do Zinho militia?
Absolutely. This militia, led by a guy called Zinho, was making a killing, literally, using dredgers, trucks, the whole works, to scoop up massive amounts of sand near Rio. Satellite imagery shows the scale of this operation. It was massive. And they weren't just selling the sand. They were controlling the entire construction process, building illegal structures, and then monopolizing services for the residents.
That's insane. So they're not just criminals, they're also real estate developers? And the environmental impact? The article mentions that too, right?
You bet. The environmental damage is catastrophic. Wildlife extinction, altered waterways, increased flooding, the list goes on. And the worst part is, it's incredibly difficult to police. A truckload of legal sand looks exactly the same as a truckload of illegal sand.
So how do you even begin to tackle this problem? It sounds almost impossible to distinguish between legal and illegal operations.
That's the biggest challenge. The article highlights the lack of effective regulation across Latin America. In Brazil, illegal sand use often surpasses legal use. In Colombia, it's tied to political and economic elites, with even journalists paying the ultimate price for exposing the trade. In Mexico, it's a similar story. Corruption protects the illegal operations.
It's a complex web of corruption and violence. The article even suggests that illegal sand from Mexico might be making its way into the U.S.
Exactly. It's a global issue, not just a Latin American one. And the profits are enormous. The article mentions one militia making $18,000 a month just from controlling one municipality's sand extraction. That's just one small piece of a much larger puzzle.
This is a really disturbing picture. It highlights the need for stronger regulations, better enforcement, and international cooperation to combat this hidden crime.
Absolutely. It's a problem that demands our attention. We need to understand the scale of this issue, the players involved, and the devastating consequences. This isn't just about sand. It's about corruption, environmental destruction, and organized crime. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you found this insightful. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating article, 21st Century C++, a deep dive into modern C++ practices. It's a real eye-opener, especially for those still clinging to the C++ of yesteryear. Let's get started.
I'm eager to hear this. 45 years of C++ evolution is a lot to unpack. What are the core arguments the author makes?
The main point is that many developers are using C++ like it's still the 20th century, missing out on huge improvements in safety, performance, and maintainability. The author, Bjarne Stroustrup himself, highlights key modern mechanisms: resource management, lifetime management, error handling, modularity, using modules instead of the old preprocessor, and generic programming. It's all about writing cleaner, safer, and faster code.
So resource management, that's always a big deal in C++. What's the modern approach?
It's all about RAII. Resource acquisition is initialization. Instead of manually allocating and deallocating resources, you use constructors and destructors to manage them automatically. Think std vector. It handles memory for you. This minimizes resource retention, leading to performance gains. It's elegant, and it prevents leaks.
I see. And what about error handling? The old return an error code approach is cumbersome, right?
Exactly. The author advocates using exceptions for rare, unhandled errors, and error codes for common, locally handled ones. Exceptions are surprisingly efficient, and they make the code much cleaner than the old error code spaghetti. It's a more robust and readable approach.
Makes sense. But what about modularity? The preprocessor seems deeply ingrained in many C++ projects.
That's where modules come in. They're a game changer. Modules provide proper modularity. Unlike the preprocessor's messy hashtag include directives, they're order independent, prevent subtle dependency bugs, and drastically improve compile times. One example cited showed a 25x speedup. It's a massive improvement.
Wow, that's impressive. And generic programming, how does that fit into this modern C++ picture?
Generic programming, using templates and concepts, allows you to write code that works for various types without sacrificing performance. Concepts, introduced in C++20, let you specify requirements for template parameters, catching type errors at compile time. It's all about writing more concise, type-safe, and efficient code. It's a beautiful thing.
So it's not just about using the latest features, but using them coherently? Is that the key takeaway?
Precisely. The author emphasizes using these features together to achieve type safety, resource safety, and performance. It's not just about adding new features. It's about a shift in mindset and a commitment to best practices. It's a paradigm shift.
The article also mentions guidelines and profiles for enforcing these modern practices, right? How does that work?
Yes. The C++ core guidelines provide a set of rules to promote good practices. Profiles take this further by enforcing specific subsets of these rules, ensuring code adheres to a defined standard. This helps to prevent common errors and maintain code quality. It's a systematic approach to improving code quality.
I'm still a bit unsure about the practical implications of these profiles. How are they actually enforced?
That's a great question. Enforcement is primarily static, meaning it happens at compile time. Compilers can be configured to check for violations of the rules defined in a profile. Some checks might require runtime verification, but the goal is to catch as many errors as possible before runtime. It's a powerful combination of static and runtime checks.
So the future of C++ involves continuing this evolution, refining these guidelines and profiles, and improving compiler support.
Exactly. The author mentions ongoing work on asynchronous computing, static reflection, SIMD, and more. The goal is to make C++ even more powerful, efficient, and easier to use while maintaining backward compatibility. The future is bright for C++. Well, that's a wrap on our discussion of 21st century C++. I hope you found this insightful. Remember to embrace modern C++ practices for cleaner, safer, and more efficient code. Thanks for tuning in to Tech Bytes and News. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving deep into the surprisingly complex world of JSON object signing, specifically, how not to do it. It's a fascinating read.
Yeah, I saw this article too. I was initially surprised by how much nuance there is to something that seems so straightforward. The author really highlights the pitfalls of trying to be too clever.
Exactly. The core message is, unless you have a compelling reason, avoid in-band JSON signing. It's a recipe for disaster. Using a MAC, like HMAC SHA 256, outside the JSON is far simpler and more secure.
Right, much easier to implement and less prone to errors. But the article delves into why in-band signing is so problematic. The sheer number of ways to represent the same JSON object? It's mind-boggling.
It's all about canonicalization, or the process of creating a unique representation. And that's where things get messy. The article mentions the nightmare of canonicalization, citing the Kelby-Ludwig SAML bug as a prime example. That bug was a real doozy.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about that. It really highlighted the fragility of relying on seemingly simple canonicalization techniques. The article suggests 3 approaches to in-band signing, but each has its own drawbacks.
Yeah. Canonicalization itself is a huge challenge, and even with standards like canonical JSON, it's not a trivial task. The second approach, including the exact signed string, doubles the message size. Not ideal for efficiency.
And the third, using an alternative format, is only really viable if you have a very structured, predictable data format. It's not a general solution. The author's preference seems to be for external signing, avoiding the whole canonicalization mess.
Absolutely. The article then goes into some real-world examples, like AWS signing versions. The evolution of AWS signing from V1 to V4 is a cautionary tale in itself. Each version had its own set of vulnerabilities, mostly stemming from how the signing process was implemented.
It's interesting how even a seemingly secure primitive like HMAC can be undermined by poor implementation. The Flickr example, using MD5, is a perfect illustration of that. They didn't just have a bad canonicalization strategy, they used a weak MAC.
Precisely. The article concludes with some strong recommendations. Always use TLS. Consider alternatives to request signing like bearer tokens, and if you must sign requests, do it externally, signing the raw bytes. Avoid in-band signing at all costs.
So the key takeaway is simplicity and avoiding unnecessary complexity. A well-implemented external signing mechanism is far more robust and less prone to errors than trying to cleverly embed the signature within the JSON itself.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you found this discussion insightful. Until next time, stay secure.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the daily roundup of Tech Bytes and News. See you again tomorrow. Goodbye.